Hi, folks. As promised, it's Dean again. We're here, as promised, with part two of the Arsenal season review with Coach Elliot Ross and myself. As promised, we rate the players, we talk some transfers, we talk some off-field stuff. I'll stop talking right now so you can dig into it. Have fun. Hope you enjoy it. Talk to you on the other side. Let's do some very quick player evaluation. So here's how we're going to do this. It's going to be quick hits. I'm going to mention a name and a score.
Out
These
of what?
scores come from the SPS Arsenal Brain Trust. Everyone that's appeared on the podcast this year gave a ranking for a player out of 10. And I collated everything, and I'm going to give you the numbers, each of you at random. You're just going to respond with whether you think that's too high or too low or just right. That's it. We're just playing the Goldilocks game. All right, here we go. Coach Raya 8.0. You're muted.
I'd go 8.5.
8.5. Okay.
Mm.
Fair enough. Timber 8.2, coach.
Uh Fair.
Fair.
Yeah.
Okay. Ben White 6.0, Elliot.
Fair.
Coach Saliba 7.4.
Fair.
Elliot,
Can I just say? Can I just say? I
no,
know.
no, you may not. You may.
I
Elliot,
want
is that 7.4 too low? He's
I want
here.
listeners I want listeners to call in. I know they can't do that, but I want them to call in and ask Coach why he's never rated Saliba.
I just want to say a Saliba 7.4 is a 9 for every other centre back on the planet. That's the point I'm making.
Okay,
So
fair enough. Fair enough. Then you should have said too low. Yeah. Come on, man. Just play the game.
yeah.
Elliot, Gabriel 9.0.
Yeah, bang on.
All right. Kivior 7.8. Elliot.
Oh, too low.
Hmm.
Kiwi was an 8. Kiwi was excellent. And yeah, another good lesson for some Arsenal fans because I always thought he's a really decent player. Really like he's never played in his actual position. I really hope we keep him. I think he also just looks like an absolute specimen in person now. Jesus, that guy's huge. Really fast. He's got like kind of Ben White type physique, but I think he's even taller than Ben White. And he's just yeah, he's a really smart. Like if we sell him, we will immediately be trying to buy the next Jacob Kiwior. So I wouldn't bother. I try and keep him and promise him a bit like quite a lot more game time.
Yeah, I love that we're putting our kids on steroids now. I just love it. We're finally a big club. None of these shrimps anymore. Coach Lewis Skelly 8.4.
Jesus.
Too low. That's a 9 for me. That's a 9
I,
on
For the
that.
season, can I just say, I'm not saying he's a better season, but it is a 10. There's no better season that you can have
Yeah.
than
he is a
And I,
contender for player of the season in my mind.
yeah.
Yeah. But it's a 9. It's a 9 for me. It's a 9, and not a 9. Oh, with us, for he dumped. No, it's a 9. What he had would be a great season for any left back this season. Any left back.
In
We're
the
just a
world.
child. All right. Alexander Zinchenko 5.0. Elliot.
Too high? What do you think?
Elliot, aka Mark Bonick. Okay, I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing, bro. All right. Kieran Tierney 6.8. Coach.
Too low. I'm sorry, it's a bias, but I love him. Like Kieran Tierney's my boy. It's too low. Too low.
Honestly, all these scores got tanked. I know who voted to tank these scores, and her name is Gabby, but we'll talk about that later. Declan Rice is a 9.0. I don't think we need to discuss that.
Yeah.
Jorginho 6.8. Elliot.
I can't really remember much about Jorginho this season.
Right.
I'll
He had a
say
quiet one.
about right. Yeah, I will miss that guy. And it does occur to me that like although I'm a Zinchenko hater, we have lost some really good passers out of the team with Jorginho and Zinchenko going. We're looking like yeah, that would be a big thing to address in the market. I think would just be some guys who are really really good at passing the ball. Nice.
And here's somebody that's allegedly good at passing that wasn't very good at it this year. Odegaard 5.4. Elliot.
No, that's too low. He wasn't that bad. I would give him a 6.5.
I'm not mad at it, but I thought that a 6. I voted a 6 on that one. Coach, what did you vote? Did you even vote?
I did. It was the Arsenal one, wasn't it? Yeah.
Oh, son of a bitch. Anyway, Ethan Waneri. Elliot,
9.
7.0. My bad. He got
No,
better.
9. I mean, Nwaneri got like double figures. What are we talking about? The kid, he's a
I thought
child.
I thought that was too low. The brain trust messed that up.
Oh, God. No, Nwaneri was amazing. Yeah, like there was
I,
periods of the season where he was one of our most effective players.
yeah, and if anything, I think any sort of criticism you have of him so far really has to do with the fact that the club was protecting him from his own body, essentially, from what I
Mm.
understand. He just couldn't handle the load. If he could have, I'm sure Arteta would have played him more because he looked very dangerous for most of the season.
I'm actually kind of glad that we ended the season in a place where there's less hype around him. Because when you think about what that kid is capable of, I mean, think that Man City goal, you don't see a lot of those.
He's gonna get better as well because his left foot was a wand, but I don't think people are ready for just how good that right foot is as well. Like it's scary.
We just need him to survive his growth spurt. That's all. We don't want a Havertz situation where you outgrow your technique or whatever. Saka 7.6. Elliot.
No, I'd go higher than that, I think, because I wouldn't mark him down on the injury. And when he was on the pitch, he was pretty phenomenal. I
Even
think
post
I'd
injury.
go for, I'd go pretty high. I'd go like 8.5.
I can live with that. I'd live with that. Brain trust fucked up again. Havertz 7.2. Elliot.
What was Havertz like before he got injured?
He
He
was
was
our
good.
top scorer up
He
until
was
he got
our
hurt.
top scorer. I can't believe nobody scored more than 9 goals or whatever. How? 7.2 seems low for Havertz. I'll give him an 8.
I agree with you. Coach Trossard 7.2.
I think that's probably a slightly too high. I'd go 7, just 7. I like Trossard, but I think
Okay.
7's fair.
Okay, so who had the better season, Trossard or Havertz?
Oh, for me, Havertz.
Okay.
Yeah.
I concur. I'll stay on you, Coach. Martinelli 6.4. Feels a bit scapegoaty to me.
Yeah, it feels scapegoaty, but I'm not mad at it. I'd stick with it. Yeah, I'd stick with it, to be fair. And I love Martinelli, but yeah, I'm not gonna pretend he hasn't stunk in a few games this season.
Scottish Jesus, we need you on this one.
Is that me? I would go quite a bit higher than that because I think he scored some really big goals. Like he scored in the Bernabeu, which is quite
Yep.
nice.
He scored in the
And
Bernabeu.
didn't he score against City? Am I imagining that?
He got 2
He
assists
scored,
against
he
City.
scored against Liverpool.
Scored against Liverpool. Scored
Or was
against
that against
Chelsea.
City?
That's standards. He does that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Martinelli's getting a pretty raw deal at the moment. I thought he was all right.
Yeah.
What did he get? 6.4.
6.4. Yeah.
I
I
would
would have
put
given
him
him
7.5.
Okay. That seems fair. Okay, now to some sick note, guys. Gabriel Jesus ended up with a 4.6. I feel like that's low given what he was showing us when he got hurt, but I could be wrong. Where are you on that one, Elliot?
I'm pretty low in Gabriel Jesus.
Ouch.
Um, he had a couple of good games, but I think he was really struggling before that, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
Um, I'd give him a 5. I know that's higher than your grade, but it's not because I think he had a good season.
Fair
He
enough.
just didn't really have much of a season, poor guy.
Correct. And Tomiyasu played a grand total of 6 minutes and earned a 2.4 from our survey. I really shouldn't have put him on there, but Coach, any comments on Tomiyasu?
I really do believe had he stayed fit, we might have found a way for SPHG. Between him and Havertz, I know it sounds pretty wild, but that's how much. These are the margins and the things that we're hinging our seasons on, which is probably a thing for the team and the club to think about. We shouldn't be hinging it on these sorts of things, but yeah, it is what it is. 6 minutes. He's lucky he got a 2. So
Yeah, incomplete is really his grade if we're being honest here. This is a good point to talk about some transfer activity and our future outlook. Let's review the guys that came in because if you notice, when we went through these quick fire ratings, we skipped Calafiori, Marino, Sterling, and Neto. So, Elliot, Calafiori got a 6.4 in our survey. Too high, too low, just right.
So that was about right, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Coach, where are you on that one?
I'm just gonna give him a 7 purely for the fact that he's the one player in our team that I can honestly say hand on heart, even if Arteta gives him instructions, he does not listen to them at all. So I think yeah, he gets a 7 for me, just purely on that.
And Luke's. Don't forget about Luke's.
Yeah, I mean Adidas underwear model, the first of his name, all of that stuff. Yeah,
Oh man, I just want him to stay healthy. I just need him to stay healthy. I love the player. Just hope he can stay healthy. Marino got a 7.6.
Yeah, that's bang on. He isn't very good in midfield, but he was pretty great up front, except in the league.
yeah,
I did love
very smart.
one thing I loved was coming into the Bernabeu. Did I mention that we were at the Bernabeu? We should know that. And in the 25 minutes, half an hour leading up to kickoff, the away fans basically sang Mikel Marino's name over and over and over again. And I thought that was great. And it's like, yeah, that the fans know what they're doing when they do that. And it was just, yeah, we got some fast defensive midfielder playing up the night at the Bernabeu. Let's just big him up. So that was good. I don't really know what we do in the next season. I guess he's kind of filler player in midfield, unless everybody gets injured up front again. Um, I don't. In terms of I think he was totally the one signing. Um, that kind of yeah, potentially um, potentially decisive in terms of what happened last season. Like I just if you spend that money on a forward of really any description at a certain level, I think the season might have looked a bit different. Um, I don't really, yeah, I think sort of doubling down on physicality and shape in a team that are like what with a squad like what Arsenal have got, it's just not the right direction. Like you need more craft in that midfield, if anything.
Yeah, we're about to get into that. But before that, Sterling got a 2.0. I'm sure you can't disagree with that.
But we did just sign his son, by the way. I don't know if you saw that. I
Yeah,
think he's about 7 years
Something
old.
good came out of it.
yeah. Can I say something on Sterling? And I think
Those
it's
guys.
really
Oh, he's a black man, and he taught all the kids how to be black at the National Academy. Who cares?
it's really not that. I think we have to be really careful about the way we just cast players aside and talk about them in a certain way just because things haven't worked out. Like he didn't work out, or the bad signing. We all probably knew deep down it was never gonna work, kind of thing. But it's the hope that kills you more than anything.
And he
And
killed the fuck out of me, bro.
yeah, and that's not his fault. He didn't make Arsenal sign him. He didn't. It was to my understanding. In fact, like even Edu, I think he was said to him on the night, like this wasn't even in the plan, kind of thing. So when a guy is tossed in there like that, kind of thing, he's kind of ready set up to fail in that regard. The fact that your own boss is telling you, well, 2 hours ago he wasn't even thinking about you.
Yeah, stop it,
So
stop it. Stop. You're
so
making excuses, okay?
so
All that matters is what you do on the pitch. That's
so
ridiculous.
so let me finish first. So what he produced on the pitch was so far below the level that it got to a point where we were bringing on a left back that was out the door already ahead of him, which tells you everything you need to know about the current state of him in terms of his quality. However, with that being said, everything I've heard from the club, um, and what we've just seen from Arteta as well is that he's remained, one of the most professional players there. And Ranieri singled out him for taking him under his wing, kind of thing, and helping him a lot, kind of thing. Those sort of things to me matter, and it shouldn't be just cast aside because he can't run anymore. Basically, I make the point that he played, I think, 460 games before he went to Chelsea. He's pretty much cooked. Like physically, he was cooked before he even got to Chelsea. So God
He's
knows
a
what's got him.
he's a Premier League legend. Like he was the best England attacker of his generation.
Mm.
Played in loads of international tournaments. Was always fantastic for England in his
Yep.
international
Yep.
tournaments. Again, like an absolute genius in terms of his ability to play in different roles.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a real shame that we signed him. It's also a shame that players like him end up in this situation right now where they're kind of trapped. I mean, it's going to be. I'm going to play an even smaller violin for Dean now, which you're going to enjoy. But the way that top level football works now is they end up sort of stuck in these massive contracts. Like in a previous era, Sterling would have, I'm going to show my bias here, gone and played for like Celtic, or you know, go to another league where it's that step, or even even Serie A, like somewhere it's a bit slower, and you can just use all your experience and bring all that quality that the coach is talking about in another context, but you're not looking like the weak link every time you're on the pitch. But yeah, I mean, Chelsea will be paying his wages again next season, won't
which is great. That's the part that I am not sorry about. That we
they?
don't
They paid
get
most of
included.
the season as well.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Anything that can improve the exchange rate between Jamaican money and English money is fine by me. I'm okay with that. Just give him all the money. He earned it. He earned it years ago, but he didn't earn it at Arsenal. 2.8 is fine. Neto somehow scored better than him. I don't know how that's even fucking possible based on his sole appearance against Gizon. He got a 3.8 in our survey, but I'm like, bruh. First off, he cost us in January because we got a loan in that spot instead of his bullshit. Then what he did against Girona, guys, like trying to save the ball with your heads outside the box. Like, bro, you're not Dean Henderson, okay? You can't get away with that shit. Relax. Elliot, before we move on from last summer's transfer review, we let Eddie, Fabio, and ESR go in a variety of capacities. In retrospect, right or wrong, where do you
Yeah,
stand
right.
with that?
All of them are right. Maybe Vieira you could have kept, knowing that the numbers in midfield were not going to be great. I don't really know. Is he having no cases at Porto? He doesn't seem to be
He's had
in the
moments.
news. Yeah.
He's had moments.
I think Arteta was obviously lost faith in him. ESR, good sale. Nketiah, good sale. I don't think Nketiah had a sort of quiet season at Palace, but I could see him building a really good career there. A bit like Matata's first season, he wasn't all that great, and they have a bit of patience there, and yeah, he's sort of in the queue to be in that attack. So yeah, I think there's been good moves for both of them actually. ESR had some really bright games for Fulham as well, didn't he?
Again, had his moments.
Yeah.
We didn't call it a great season, but
Mhm.
hasn't been a failure. He would probably have
Got pretty good money for all of them, I think.
Yes. We'll give Edu his props for that, but not for bringing us no other Brazilians besides Martinelli that we actually like.
No, he bought Marquinhos.
Who? He just left today. Didn't he sign with Cruzeiro or something? That was
Yeah,
pretty mysterious.
permanently now.
Yeah, well, we hardly got to know him. He seemed like a nice guy. Really enjoyed him crying when he scored his debut goal. That was lovely. Very pretty moment. He does very pretty jerseys.
Really good knee slide.
Uh,
I remember that.
huh.
He did a knee slide when he scored. Yeah, really good.
Didn't in tears? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
That's wild. That is wild. All right. This was probably the part people wanted to hear at the beginning of the podcast, but then we got all underbelly-ish and didn't get to it quickly enough. But I want to talk about the future and some squad building. Coach, we don't have enough information to actually sort of answer this question, but based on what you've seen and heard so far, what do you think the differences would be between Berta and Edu?
No more unknown Brazilians that he's just helping out his agent friends to get good contracts.
It was
Honestly,
just Marquinhos, bro. Just
nah, man. No, genuinely speaking, we'll talk about Willian as well. But anyway, I think the main difference is it's timing as well. We're looking at attackers. We're very clearly looking at attackers, and maybe that might have been the same case under Edu kind of thing. But maybe the profile of attackers is different, and I think that is because of Berta's track record, at getting these deals done, kind of thing. We might see Sesko announced next week. Like we don't know, and that kind of thing. That's kind of the exciting thing about it. I will say as well, I don't think there's going to be Arteta's last interview before the season finished. He said that look, we're ready, starting work for next season. We've already started work for next season, and we're going to continue it tomorrow. And this was the day before. This was the day of the Southampton game. So it's very, very clear that they're on the same page in terms of getting shit done, because he wants to have his squad ready, I believe, for pre-season. I'll be very shocked if we make any more signings while we're on tour, basically. Because if I remember correctly, I think Zinchenko was done while we was on tour, kind of thing, which was fine because he was at the time was a good player for us. But ideally, you want to get all your players done before pre-season. So like the whole point of pre-season is to get players right. And if you're signing players midway through camp, I don't think that's good. So yeah, I think that should be Berta's main objective: get all the players we want before
ASAP.
Yeah.
ASAP. Elliot, you get the fun question. What would you say the squad needs, and how would you prioritize those needs? And coach, you can jump in afterwards if you feel like it.
Are we assuming that Zubimendi is coming?
Let's assume Zubimendi's done.
Okay.
And where would you have ranked him in the priority list as well?
Pretty high. Yeah. I think hopefully we're losing Party and we're definitely losing Jorginho, so there's just a big gap in a really, really key position. So you need to fill it. Zubimendi feels like we'd be getting him at a discount because of his release clause. And it seems to be very good. Everyone seems to rate him. I think he plays in a team that's got a really different style to us, so he'll have to adapt. But every time I've seen him for Spain, he's been excellent. So yeah, I'm happy with that. I think in terms of strategy, yeah, I think I touched on it earlier. I would be quite tempted to go for a volume strategy for attackers. I just think we need quite a lot more than what we currently have. And that is for lots of reasons. One is the fixtures are absolutely crazy, and we struggle to compete in multiple competitions, more than one competition. Like when it comes to the business end of the season, we just don't have, and we don't have the numbers, particularly in advanced positions, and it has a kind of compounding effect because you're just like logins and players over and over again, and these don't look fresh, and that's happened now twice in a row. Like the Bayern tie, it was the same thing.
Yeah, with the
Um,
game between
yeah,
Bayern, Villa, Bayern. That was the end of
I
it.
thought so. We're in a different position, right? But I thought Brighton's strategy last season was interesting, and I don't think you'd do it again because obviously a limit on squad numbers and playing time. But they just bought loads of 30 million pound attackers from mainly from the continent. And I would like Arsenal to do something a bit like that, but obviously at a higher level and being able to attract much better players. But I think there must be opportunities based on the fact that nobody across the European leagues really has any money. Not all the players can go to Barcelona and Real Madrid. Um, and yeah, so I think the numbers matter, like how many players we actually sign, almost and perhaps more than who is it in this case. And the other reason for that, in my assessment, is that I think Arteta can just do a fantastic job as long as he doesn't run out of players in a particular position. I think that's maybe this is too focused on the lessons that we saw this season because that he literally ran out of players. We just had to stick essentially a defensive-ish midfielder up front. Just a really weird place to kind of land in. I would ideally sell Trossard now. Like I think his last chance to kind of cash in on him. He's been really good, but I'd like somebody, yeah, just more physical presence, somebody much faster, as well. And then I'd be looking at, I think at least one who could play central, to compete with Havertz for that space, and then at least a couple of wide attackers. And ideally somebody, again, I don't think they need to be hugely expensive, but somebody who can deputise and compete with Odegaard. So people talked about El Pinus at Leicester. He's pretty good. I don't know the player all that well. I like Damsgaard at Brentford. I thought was really, really good. I don't know how much he would cost. Again, like I think a lot of the when you look at transfer windows historically, you can do it in pretty much any window. I think is very meaningful that like often the best signings are not the ones that anybody's talking about really. Right? So like when PSG signed Coutinho, was that a big deal? Not really, right? Like the guy,
It wasn't a big deal, but a lot of people did rate him highly.
they rated him highly, but he'd had a difficult period at Wolves. He was
Yeah,
like
exactly.
really,
Yeah,
really,
exactly.
really small. I don't know how much was he, like 40 million or something. There's
40,
just
50,
kind of
like that, yeah.
yeah. There's that kind of range of player where I think the club should have a really good way of assessing the quality of the players and just yeah, it's about insulating the squad from the risk that the season collapses because we just run out of players in a particular area. I think the upfront is clearly where we're thinnest. You have to completely discount Gabby Jesus, um, Havertz. You have to Havertz and Saka, and to an extent Martinelli are all coming back from pretty serious injuries next season. So if you go into the season thinking, okay, we're going to get the same output and production from them as we did the season before, that seems really, really over optimistic to me. I think you need to go in thinking, how do we rotate these guys and keep them fresh so that when it comes to the business end of the season, they're really, really ready to go. Um, but yeah, I don't, does that answer it, Dean? Like what? I'm not really giving you names there. I don't know how helpful that is or isn't. Like some of the names that I like, a lot of people talk about Watkins. I could see that, like particularly if it's cheap, having quite a lot of value at the moment in the squad. I would rather do like an Osimhen who seems to not have fire, maybe outside Saudi. Um,
Weird.
is there something weird going
His
on there?
his
Is that
wages would just be absolutely. He's
so? How
coming
much
in.
is he on?
He's coming in at around probably at least 300. Like that's what he's gonna
Okay.
demand for sure. So he'd automatically be our highest earner straight away.
Hey man, like paying 300 for an avowed Chelsea fan is just not good business. I'll be honest with you guys. You had reminded me of Hugo Ekitike earlier this
Yeah,
season when we were talking about this. What did you make of his season and the fact that we don't seem to be linked with him at all?
yeah. I think it sucks when it links with him. He's really good.
Yeah, I'm
It's
totally
annoying that it's annoying how these players sort of you see them at a relatively early stage, and it seems quite obvious, even to like a non-specialist, that they're really good. And then by the summer, they're because I think we were talking about last season as well. By the summer, they're 100. Everyone's talking about £100 million. Uh, yeah. If it comes to a decision like that, I'd rather go for like two or three players in a lower bracket who cover a similar kind of profile, a similar position. Um, I always love the way that Wenger recruits strikers, like and attacking players generally, and how he organized the succession between different. So he had a pretty much unbroken stream of hits from like after he replaced Ian Wright with effectively with Anelka, right, and then replaced Anelka with
yeah.
Henri, and
Yeah,
then replaced Henri with Adebayor and Van Persie. I mean, that is astonishing.
yeah.
And even within that, you've got players like Eduardo who are absolute class and would have been uh, brilliant. But around the side, it's interesting. You get totally different profiles, right? So like there was a time where obviously we're playing two up front at that point. Do we play two up front now, or do we play three up front? So do you actually need more strikers? But we had a striker group that had like Davor Schuker right at the end of his career, but after he'd just been, I think, second or third in the Ballon d'Or coming from Madrid. We had Kanu, we had Thierry Henry, and
And Bergkamp.
Bergkamp. They're all completely different
Hmm.
and at different stages of the career, and you're spreading the risk and you're spreading the bet about who's going to like really hit in the team, and that's quite interesting to me. I'd like generally for like I think that the reason that Sterling signing it wasn't anything to do with him. I think the disappointment there was not using those minutes to like Arsenal can give those minutes to somebody they think is good who's young, and even if that player doesn't work out, you can sell them. Like everybody wants to buy Arsenal players. So to me, it's just like when the worst rumor I think is like Sane and these kinds of players like that.
Yeah,
Let's
I'm
just
not.
not do that again.
No.
Um, I think that's been a really long answer. Sorry, I want to hear what Coach has to say and what you think. Dean.
Coach, go on.
Uh, in terms of players, I think I've been very consistent with it. Nico Williams is for me, he's the one. And then automatically you hear Rodrigo might shake loose. You're like, well, actually, no, I want a bit of Rodrigo as well. Um,
Why not both?
And that leads into my next point. There's a universe where Arsenal could actually sign both in one summer, and that would be our entire attacking business, basically. Which it may not be on the quantity side, but quality side, mate, that's as good as you can hope, pretty much. Go on.
So if you get both of those, do you then get Sheshko as well?
So I'm a glutton, so yeah, I don't want to get rid of Kiwi. So of course I want Sheshko as well. So you sign those three, and that's essentially a whole new attacking line straight away. And then you talk about relegating players that maybe aren't as good, but now your actual floor has improved loads. Because no disrespect to Martinelli, love him, and I'd love for him to be a first teamer, but like we don't have time to waste in it. You relegate Martinelli, and now he's getting minutes, against good teams before we play a big Champions League game. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can take Martinelli to Anfield before we got to go to the Bernabeu. Like, that's not a problem. So that's where I'm at. If we can raise our ceiling by relegating some, not all, but some first team players to like more rotational players, why not? That's where I'm at. So Zubamendi, yeah, bring him, great. In Wemo, I'm still high on, but again, I'm not gonna cry if we don't get him. But these are the sorts of signings I'm talking about where, yeah, they come in, it's plug and play. There's no sort of bedding in period or anything like that. So yeah.
Fair enough. All right, guys. We want to do some off-field stuff before we get out of here, and we probably should have snuck this earlier in the pod so as not to mess the vibes up. But Coach insists. So, Coach, you've had a lot to say about the ticketing this season. What you go to games? What is the issue exactly, and how do you want them to fix it? Turn your mic on, please.
Well, the first thing is that I have to give the club some sort of props for helping with the bots. The bots have, you know, have still got a stranglehold on us, but it's been reduced. Not significantly, but noticeably, I'd say, and that's a good thing. But what is happening now is you're not getting, and it links to the atmosphere. You're not, like, people aren't able to get tickets, not because they don't want to go, not able to get tickets because of the way the system works, where, the balloting system basically, like, guys, I didn't win a single ballot this season, by the way, just so you know. So if you're wondering, oh, coach, that all the game, well, I didn't win a ballot, guys. I just was fortunate enough to go on the exchange, or have people just throw tickets onto my account, basically.
It's probably
And that's
because you're black.
well, and that's an issue where you have some people that, again, I'm not hating, but some people literally their first ever game or their first game of the season, they won the ballot for
You hate.
for Real Madrid. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. And I think
That's
there's nothing.
I'm just saying that's hate.
There's nothing wrong with people being able to get to a game. Nothing wrong with that. But I just feel like there has to be some sort of system where they're able to track where. And I don't want it to be a big buff system where people are genuinely going to games. They are the genuine bums in seats kind of thing. There should be some sort of level of priority there, I think, personally. So that's my main issue there. I think the balloting system there's still some work to be done there for sure.
Elliot, you hinted at this earlier when we were talking about reconfiguring the team, adding to the squad, subtracting from the squad. We've had conflicting rumors over the past week or two about number 5. Is the club going to sign him up again? Well, the club kind of has to sign him up again because they lost Jorginho, and you can't lose that much depth and experience in midfield. I know you wouldn't want to sign him on again. That said, what would your reaction be to the club signing him on for another season or two?
It'd be really disappointing for lots of reasons. I mean, lots of Arsenal fans, and I think it's been really good to have a kind of public campaign that many people have seen running through the season. I don't want to say anything actionable here. I just think it's a natural break point, even if the club could have given a much better signal, I think, much earlier on, by expediting his exit one way or another. And we've heard rumors about other, like, Saudi clubs being interested previously in different windows. Arsenal don't seem to have a very good kind of route to getting players out to Saudi for whatever reason. So the market for him is not that great, especially because he's on such high wages. But I think actually there's the off-pitch issues, which are difficult to talk about in this context. I think probably my view's pretty clear on them from what I'm saying, but the on-pitch issues as well. I don't think it's all linked, right? But I thought that what he did against Real Madrid in the second leg was absolutely unforgivable as a professional footballer.
PSG.
And I think
Oh yeah.
no, the Real Madrid second leg where he picks up
Yellow
the yellow
card. Yeah.
card. I think we would have qualified if he had been available in the first leg. I think it really changes the balance of that tie, how the whole thing feels. I think it would be a different result that night and led to a different. These are you can't really predict it, but it was clearly everybody came away from that tie thinking this is going to be a really big issue for the second leg, for the PSG home leg, and I think it was. And it's he's the most experienced player in the team, been around top level European football forever. He just totally let the team down, and I don't think that I would I, the way that Arteta seems to run the team seems to take that kind of thing really seriously. Like just don't. That's just not acceptable. If you have the cliches, the Foggin standards, right? Like that's to me, that's just like that's number one. Like you can't do something like that. It's not a discretionary thing. It's nothing like any of the things that say Miles did, or the Rice red card, or even Trossard kicking the ball away. It's not like that. It's just a really, really stupid thing to do for no reason at a time when the tie is completely won. And as a professional, you have to do better than that. And I feel like at really important moments in all of the last few seasons, he has really let the team down in different ways, but mainly from a technical perspective. Again, like technical as in keep your head. Um, but also, I mean, he was the one who gave the ball away to Declan Rice, right, in that West Ham game a couple of seasons ago.
Oh yeah.
There just seems to be, and sometimes I think with a player, you just have to say, yeah, it's not really working. Like not at the top level. Yeah, like I think where they're coming from a technical sort of squad building perspective is like they're probably trying to put his wages way down, and then they're saying he knows his way around. We can use him in a lot of games. He doesn't need to play in the big games necessarily. He's being replaced. He's always taking Jorginho's spot in the squad essentially. But I think the risk is you end up relying on him again in really high pressure, decisive moments at the end of the season, and it will happen again. I just don't trust the guy on the pitch. Fundamentally, I don't think I ever really have. Between the injuries and everything else, I think it's a shame. I think he's nearly a fantastic player, but yeah, there's just something there that hasn't quite worked at Arsenal,
Fair enough.
in my opinion. I know other
Yeah,
people have different views on it.
he's had moments. He's had
Yeah.
periods where he was really good. One could even argue that for the first half of this season that we've almost finished reviewing here, that he was the best midfielder, or at least the most consistent midfielder that we had until Declan Rice got his shit together. But ultimately, you made the point. Like there's the off-field stuff that we're not going to get into because of the forum we're in. But on field, I find it difficult that so many people that support him, mostly on the internet, which I spend too much time on, seem to ignore the fact that he's often responsible for these ridiculous brain fart moments that cost us points in big games. He cost us in the Champions League. The yellow card you mentioned, the first leg against PSG, the second leg against PSG when he actually played. He made errors in that game that I consider unforgivable. Against Villa, 2-0 up, 2 errors from him, 2 goals, 2-2. So to ignore all that and just, chalk it up to the off-field stuff is disingenuous to me. Then you add in the off-field stuff, and I'm just like, he's bad for the vibes, straight up and down. Like, when Arsenal eventually wins something, I'd really rather not see him in the photos. That's where I'm at with it.
It's a nice way.
Thank you. Oh, my first compliment today. Coach, in slightly more serious and vaguely geopolitical matters, a member of staff at Arsenal, Mark Bonnick, supposedly got let go for things he had tweeted, I believe,
from his personal account.
From his personal account
Yep.
about the conflict. Well, not conflict, about the genocide in
In Gaza.
Palestine right now.
Hmm.
What's your stance on what happened there and what should happen moving forward?
I really, really feel sorry for him, first of all, and I feel even bad that he wants his job back. That for me is just it's a state of where we're at, that you want to go back to an employer that clearly doesn't value your very justified opinions on something as basic as just, let's not kill children, basically. That is that's where it's just like, and I know it's obviously it's not the entire club, it's just the decision makers within that department that obviously deal with that sort of thing. You do represent the club, whether you like it or not. You do represent the club. I'm not saying that the players feel this way, the manager feel this way, or even the other kit men or the whoever else feel this way, kind of thing. But wherever you are, the moment you put on the Arsenal badge, you do represent the club. That's usually how it goes. We saw today Saka being slandered for not wanting to talk at F1 meet or whatever. You know what I mean? So you do represent the club. So when something like that happens, the entire club is tarnished with it, whether we like to admit it or not. Um, but the fact that the club admitted, I believe, that his remarks weren't inflammatory, but they brought the club into some sort of disrepute, really just didn't sit right with me. And the fact that a lot of people are only just finding out about it now lets you know that there was a lot done to essentially keep it under wraps, which again leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Overall, like, no club is perfect. Every single club on the planet has, the metaphorical blood on their hands, one way or the other, or something, kind of thing. No one's keen on anything that, but you just like and hope to think that something as basic as this, it's black and white to me. Don't kill innocent people on a mass scale. You're happy to support other conflicts, and talk about it, and not claim to, talk about, oh, we're not politicizing stuff. But then this, you all of a sudden, it's a little bit, and we know the reasons why. We don't need to go into it, kind of thing. But it doesn't.
We don't have the time.
Yeah, exactly. But go on.
I just think in terms of football, it's a real indictment that like the
Yeah.
focus is on someone like this guy
Mm,
rather than while the sport um,
mm,
has not censured Israel in any way. Israel's still
yeah.
competing in the Champions League in European football.
Yeah.
Israel's still an active UEFA and FIFA member. Israel's still eligible to qualify for international tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's completely unacceptable.
And until something like that happens, while I understand the club can do their part, kind of thing, the powers that be, they're the ones that hold the keys, essentially. Now, clubs can lead in their own way, kind of thing, but unfortunately, the way football is, it's a pyramid kind of thing. If the boss says no, essentially the boss says no, and that kind of thing frustrates me. Now, there's other clubs out there and other small organizations that aren't silent on these things, that are very, very, that have drawn their line, kind of thing. They've drawn their line in their sand, kind of thing. And it would be nice to see one of the big boys. Doesn't have to be our. It'll be nice of our club, but it doesn't have to be our club, kind of thing. Somebody else does it. Somebody else will follow. That's the way. That's the way I see it, kind of thing. And until that happens, you know, more people that might be in Mark's position, because while it is about him, it's not just about him, if that makes sense, kind of thing. More people in his position are probably going to suffer the same thing. So I'd like to see the club make a strong stance on it. It's not going to happen, but I have to be clear, the club's handling of it, I'd say, probably isn't acceptable, but at the same time, it's not unique to Arsenal, unfortunately.
Do you remember? It's a different case, but it's just kind of part of the kind of broader issue.
Yeah.
It's interesting that. Do you remember when Salah played for Basel? They had a European game against Maccabi Tel Aviv, I think it was,
Yeah.
and he refused. He very pointedly refused to shake anyone's hand.
Mm.
That was just his protest
Yeah.
against their participation in the competition. And I think he didn't play in the away leg. I might be misremembering that.
In Tel Aviv.
Yeah, but I think it just tells you so much about the industry and about
Yeah.
the sport at that level that Salah's become much more prominent since that. It's been 12 years since that happened. That
Mm.
was very well known at the time, and I'm not saying it's to put any pressure on him to do anything, but the underlying institutional culture is such that he's effectively shot about it, even as we've seen um,
Mm.
the genocide for the past however long it's been, and just like worsening. The occupation obviously has worsened considerably during that period. Um, yeah, I mean it speaks to the power of the culture the culture underlying that takes its cue um, from the kind of official positions of governments and this kind of thing. So that, I mean, yeah, the converse to that, I guess, is where you see the PSG fans out,
Yeah.
and they've been really active. They won a lot of, what is a PSG, right? Like they won a lot of respect, I think, this year through some of their demos. It's nice to see pastime flags when Liverpool celebrating the league, when
Yeah.
um, I think it was Pippo Inzaghi. Is he the coach of Pisa? He was holding a pass.
Yeah, I saw
Who
that as
knows
well.
how intentional all that was, but and up in Scotland as well, you got the Celtic fans that keep at it. So
Mm.
there's a tension there, isn't there, between like football's public and football's institutions, if you like.
Mm, exactly that. Yeah, there is essentially just a huge disconnect
Mm.
right there. Like you can see it plain as day. But yeah, everyone needs to do better, including Arsenal. So
Bring back Freddie Canute.
yeah,
Never thought I'd say
yeah,
that about a Tottenham player.
yeah, yeah. Me and Dean had a really interesting discussion about him. Actually, we'll probably have this off air. So
About Canute.
yeah,
Yeah. Well said, gents. Well said. Elliot, as the guest, thank you again for joining us.
yeah.
But we'd like you to see us out with sort of your 30,000-foot view of the season and maybe a grade to get us out of here. Like how was your Arsenal season? How much did you enjoy Miles with Skelly? Was it so much so that we got an A?
Mm.
No, we didn't get an A. I think we probably got a B, maybe. Um,
Right.
I think I'd give them a B. There was enough highlights from the season. There was enough like really pretty great moments. Last night, unfortunately, I was in the pub talking to a Man United fan during the final, and he said to me, "Do you think you can win the league next season?" And I was just like, are you joking? why, why, why are you asking that? Like, oh, I think maybe it gets to what you're saying, Dean, about like the difference, or Coach, maybe at the beginning you were talking about like the difference between like how the club's perceived internally and then like how we as fans. I don't think we're deluding ourselves. Like, we're the phrase everyone keeps using is like we're in the room, right? Like
Mm.
we've reached a certain level where it's very difficult to beat Arsenal. Um, Injuries form, what happens on the day, these things are all variables, and we want to to make United steps so that it's more and more likely that Arsenal will win these like big games. But yeah, I mean like it's it was a very frustrating season, but it's especially frustrating because we all know how good the team is and how good the manager is as well. Um, so yeah, I think it's hard to give that 30,000-foot view without knowing what happens next. Like you could look back on this season and think it was a down year where lots of unlucky things happened, but they were obviously heading in the right direction, and then it sort of culminates in the Premier League or the Champions League or whatever. But it could also start to look like a really big missed opportunity. I think particularly in the Champions League. I think that was there for us on this season if they just had that little bit extra that we're a well matched team with PSG. Although they're obviously much more fun to watch. Uh,
Mm.
um,
I
but
wonder why.
yeah, I saw the wage bill chart was amazing. They're almost double Arsenal's wage bill, which does put it in perspective.
Yeah,
And
Um,
very importantly, they were all healthy. I
yeah.
keep saying that.
yeah, well,
That's like the biggest factor. Look at the NBA.
Mm.
It's depth that's getting to the finals. Indiana has depth and healthy players.
yeah,
Oklahoma City has depth and healthy players. Same thing in every
that's
sport.
that's a big adaptation for Arteta to make. Is the size of the squad and how he managed it.
Mm.
I think that's maybe the biggest thing because he's obviously come out of the City culture where they. I mean, I never really get it. They always say they don't have enough players, but then they've got all these 100 million, 60 million pound signings you never see
Mhm.
play at all.
Yeah.
Um,
It's because Pep is passive aggressive and doesn't want to tell people that you can't play.
Mm.
yeah.
The issue there.
Mm.
Can I just say on that, I never miss an opportunity to say something rude about Pep whenever you guys invite me on. I think along with the other managers, Luis Enrique has actually gone past Pep. Nobody's really talking about that now,
Mm.
but I mean, he won two trebles. He's just been much more efficient in terms of what he's actually done in club football. With PSG, was it 2 seasons he took to build a Champions League? So Pep had unlimited resources at City. It took him 8 years to win a final. Lewis, there's a great virtue in being a manager who doesn't completely fuck up finals, which is what Pep continually does. Like the fact that he dropped Rodri for one of the finals, which I think was the one that Chelsea won. Is that right? He dropped Rodri. I mean, these
I
things
always,
just.
I always go back to the Lyon tie. I think the season before. That was for me. That's like you're never going to change. Like
What?
you did 3-4-3.
Did he have the back or something?
We went 3-4-3 against the Lyon side, who were like arguably the best 3-4-3 side in Europe, to try and match them, and you get schooled by by Aouar and Ndore, who it's just weird. Like that shouldn't be happening, but that's
But why is it that his like reputation or sort of brand as the best manager in the world, sometimes even the best manager ever, like how does it persist? I genuinely, it's one of these things I just don't get. It's like people have this idea that he invented good football or passing football in 2010. It's just not true. And like Zidane, Ancelotti, Luis Enrique, Klopp, these managers have done much better things than he has.
I agree with you, and I think it's a function of the fact that he's done it. When he ascended with Barcelona, he did it against Manchester United and Sir Alex Ferguson. And the bulk of his career now has been in England with City. And England has the loudest media. And for that reason, he will always be cool to them. That's just what it is. Like he's dominated them. He's made them sit in the cuck chair in the hotel, and they'll sit there forever with Pep. It doesn't matter what he does from here on out. It doesn't matter.
You saw the same thing with Mourinho. Like they knocked out United, and all of a sudden, like they were just eating out of the palm of his hand before he even got to England. So, yeah,
pretty much. Coach, anything else for the people before we get out of here?
No. This is it for the 24-25 season. No more 24-25 content from us. So, thank you.
Are you doing transfer stuff over the summer?
Oh yeah, all that's coming. But 24-25, we're trying to bury it, Elliot. We're just trying to bury it.
Let's do. Can we do predicted transfers? Like not what you want to happen, but what you think is going to happen.
Yeah, of course. That's all coming. That's all coming. So.
No, I'm saying that now. I want to hear what you guys think.
Yeah, you start us off.
Yeah.
Who do I think we're going to sign? Zubamendi, Sesko. I don't know how to say his name. Sheshko.
Sesko. We'll go with that.
I think they want Nico Williams, but I think he's too expensive. I think they'll go for maybe Gittins. Maybe they'll go for Gittins.
I think the wages for Williams is the issue. The actual price is fine. 50 million is fine, but we're gonna be signing him for probably close to, I want to say, if we do get him for close to Havertz wages, which might not go down well. If we're trying to re-sign Gabriel, Saliba, and Saka at the same time as well,
And then I thought they were going to sign that goalie from Espanyol, but he seems to have gone to Barcelona.
He got too good too fast. It's a wrap.
Yeah. What do you guys think,
Coach?
Yeah, I think Zubamendi's obviously already happened. So that's the easy one. Sheshko, yeah, I think that's happening as well.
Do you think he'll be good?
Oh yeah, I have no doubt that Sheshko will put it like this. Different players, but Desiree Doué was linked with us before he went to PSG, and he hadn't scored a boatload of goals. He hadn't got a boatload of assists, kind of thing. But he was able to translate the form because he's playing in a better team in a better environment, kind of thing. There's no way a player with Sheshko's qualities doesn't get better in a team like Arsenal, basically. So that's my reasoning there. Obviously, I'm open to be wrong, whatever, but there's that. Outside of Sheshko, Zubamendi, I won't lie to you, I am looking at, this is going to sound like a crazy one, but I do think there's a world where we potentially look at Rashford, potentially, because he's definitely going, and they need money, kind of thing. And I'm not being funny. Rashford at 27 for £40 million. You're going to spend £40 million on Watkins, who's 30. I'm not being funny. Why not on someone that's done it in the Champions League, enough times, that's, it's still Rashford, guys, so there's, again, the only thing is there would be wages, but there's a world where that potentially could happen.
And maybe off the ball as well. I don't know how much Arteta would like his record off the ball.
Yeah. But again, Arteta is someone that we've seen already that's learning on the job as well. So you really never know. Outside of that, in terms of our defenders, there could be a world where we sign Jarrell Hatto. I suppose Arteta will get he needs he needs a defender per transfer window, or else he's not going. You know,
He needs it like crack.
he's gonna get his defender whether we like it or not.
The link with the other guy that we were vaguely linked with was Nathan Collins at Brentford. I'm just listing Brentford players, but it's
Taking the absolute piss. Nathan
Collins is really good.
He's 24 years old and he's really tall.
Dean,
Okay.
clip this. Coach, tell me about Nathan Collins.
I'll take it. Yeah.
Nathan Collins, you're going to see a lot more Nathan Collins. That's all.
Oh my God.
And I'd like to also.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a little fantastical with it and say the Šeško price gets too high and Arteta lets Arteta down and all the internet people are happy. Then we end up with Rodrigo and Nico Williams. So Zubimendi and some sort of defending child. I don't know if it's Hato or Mosquera or someone else, but there's going to be a young defender coming in. If we're lucky enough to also get rid of number 5, then we might get a young midfielder of some sort to just provide some depth and develop over time, which I would really like.
Yeah.
Because it's at least third choice in that position at best, rather.
With Šeško, I find these kinds of players, I find it really difficult to know how to feel. You know, when you haven't seen that much of a player, but you see like enough, and then you've read like a bit of the like data analysis and like, you know, people scouting him on the internet, whatever. So you get a kind of impression, and then there's just that clip. I'm sure you've seen of him scoring the goal, which is exactly like Van Basten. And you just think like, that's the guy we need. We definitely need that.
Bring. All right, guys. Thank you so much, Elliot. We appreciate you. Anything, anywhere where the people can find you? Anything you're working on at the moment that people need to know about?
Not really. Childcare and day job, unfortunately. So it's not very exciting.
The most important job of all.
Yeah.
Arsenal manager, father. Yeah. All right, folks. Thanks for hanging with us in this awful season. I'm glad we're done with it. They're glad we're done with it. You're glad we're done with it. But thanks for hanging with us anyway. Coach, you know what to tell the people?
Peace. And much love to you.